and welcome to the Bluegrass Sports Show, or
The BS Show. We are two fat guys who talk crap. We're something. We're live from the humble abode of the Bentley, and today, Carl's excited about this topic. He's wanting to talk.
Wait, I'm Carl.
Well, I said you were Carl, and I'm Perry.
The animal.
I'm the person who is explaining what Carl's excited to talk about today.
Oh, Lord.
We're wanting to talk to you about the one and done rule and what should be done, if anything should be done, how any changes should be made at all. I have varied opinions on this. It just depends really on circumstances. But I'll let you go first.
I don't have varied opinions.
Your idea. I'll let you lead into her.
Okay. So we are talking about the one and dones. We are fans of Kentucky, who's the kings of the one and dones. But me being the way I am, right? You know this. I wish for competition, for better competition, for constant competition. So at least for the first portion of it, right? If we change the rule to the same as football, which is what I would like to see, where you do still have the option to go early, just not as early. If we change that rule, you're going to see better players going to different schools, at least for the first portion of it, because players that would leave after 1 year are still going to be there. So you're going to have to sit behind these guys and not play, in a sense. At least for the first couple years. Once it gets rolling, maybe not. But at least for those first 2 or 3 years till those players start leaving, it'll be different. I think so anyway.
While you were speaking about this, I caught myself admiring the carpentry of your cabinet for some reason. It just caught my eye. But my opinions in regards to this, I get what you're coming from.
Right.
Whenever I look at balance and wanting there to be competition, I look back to where we were barely able to compete with teams like Houston and VMI and garbage like that under Billy Gillispie. I love the fact that we have elite talent under John Calipari every single
But you're
year.
still going to have that.
Well, you're still going to have it to an extent. To me, with the aspect of the one and done rule, I'm a firm believer if a kid wants to go make a living, they should be able to make a living.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there shouldn't necessarily be a requirement to go to school. Now, that's just me. Baseball doesn't have that requirement. Baseball has a requirement that if you do go, you have to stay 3 years. But you can go right directly out of high school.
That's fine.
Football has the requirement where you have to be out of school for 3 years. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to stay 3 years. You don't have to be classified as a junior to come out. You can come out as a redshirt sophomore.
Right, redshirt sophomore.
But you must be removed from high school for 3 years. The NBA, just 1 year and you're done.
Right.
Now, there's been so much talk about making it 2 years. If a kid has no interest in being in college, why make him go to college?
What I could offer up is I'm fine with them going straight out of high school.
And that's where my reservations are at with this, is that so many times that you look at guys that think, especially in this new era right now, 15 to 20 years ago, you don't have as many kids trying to go straight from high school to the pros.
No.
Because it's a much more established thing to go to college.
Mm-hmm.
With the one and done era now, you're looking at so many of these kids look at themselves as, I'm a one and done.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost an insult to the fabric of these kids if they perceive themselves to be one and done and they turn out not being able to be a one and done. They're almost frowned upon, and that's ridiculous.
Right.
But they are.
Well, the reason why, as well, besides spreading the competition around, and I think if you're going to go straight out of high school to the NBA, which I think that rule should still exist, that you need extensive research on these players to ensure that a Sebastian Telfair don't happen.
Kwame Brown.
Yeah, Kwame Brown. I mean, there's been many players that were taken straight out of high school that turned out to be complete busts. That if they had to play in college, you would have seen that. You would have seen the flaws.
Or they don't even get drafted. That's
Right.
my biggest fear, is because once you sign with an agent
Mhm.
and you enter the draft, your amateur status is gone. Now, can you go to college and get an education? Sure.
Yeah.
But you've lost the ability to do so on your basketball
Right.
career. At this point, you're required, you will be paying for your education, as opposed to having the bridge to where you have that education. Something I love about the University of Kentucky. Now, I'm sure other schools do the exact same thing. I can't speak to those schools because I don't give two craps about those schools. The University of Kentucky, it's an open-ended scholarship. While John Wall, Anthony Davis, DeMarcus Cousins, Carl Towns, all these guys were one-and-done players, their scholarship are lifetime scholarships. They're open-ended. They can come back and finish their education at any point they want to, and they will still have a full ride to that. My biggest fear with going to straight out of high school, it opens the door because there's so much more of an emphasis on being a one and done, succeeding. So many of these kids think that I can go straight to the league right now. If I'm a one and done player, the reason why I'm going to college is because I have to be there 1 year anyways.
Right.
I can go straight to the league. I feel like because there's not as much emphasis on the drafting of developed players in college now. It's all based on potential.
Right.
I feel like going to straight out of high school, while I'm 100% an advocate for letting a kid make a living if a kid wants to make a living, I feel like it'll hurt the game. I feel like it'll hurt the kids. So,
that's why you need extensive research on these players.
I don't know how you fix the one and done rule, truthfully. The best
I don't know how. I would just like to see it.
The best option to me, I think, would be the 2-year rule. I think forcing a kid to be in school for 3 years isn't right. That's just my opinion. Allowing a kid to go directly out of high school, to me, isn't right. It's just, it allows a kid to make a living if they want to. You're going to hurt the game. If you look at the history of the game, you have 4 players, really, that went straight from high school. That had maybe 5. I mean, there's been other examples of mediocrity success, the J.R. Smiths of the world, that's had decent success in the league. But you have,
as far as main success, success.
You've got KG, you've got Kobe, you've got LeBron, you've got Amari Stoudemire. And Dwight Howard went straight from high school to the league. But that's a few examples.
Exactly.
Just a few.
And how many in that, so before the one and done rule, how many actually jumped from high school to the NBA?
And something that I think the one and done model does help, it does allow for these student athletes. It gives, especially the kids that go to Duke or go to Kansas or go to Kentucky, schools that are on TV a lot. It allows them to be seen.
Right.
It allows them for exposure. That makes them money down the line. Now, whether or not it should make them money in college, that's a discussion for another time.
Right.
This makes them they have so much more exposure on the college level.
Yep.
Just do it high school. And endorsements, what they're looking at as far as their draft stock being evaluated by NBA teams, because they're practicing, especially at Kentucky and in some ways Duke, they're practicing against NBA talent.
Yep.
So there's so much more of an ability to look at these kids from an NBA standpoint if they are in college.
Right.
The issue is how long do you my fear is if you go to the 2-year rule, it's going to destroy the college game.
What do you mean destroy it?
Because kids, I think, are decently okay with going to college for 1 year and then going to the league. If you're putting a kid in a situation to where he's 2 years away from being able to help his family financially. For example, you have a lot of one and dones that go to Duke.
No, wait a minute. I got a weird question here to throw at you.
Okay.
All right, let's say the rules change to where college players are able to be paid.
Well,
does the 2-year thing change then?
Yes, absolutely does. Okay. But based under the format, now, you're looking at one and done guys that go to Duke. Most of those are coming from wealthy families anyways.
Right.
And that's just a cruel fact of it. Cody Johnson will tell you the exact same thing. Most of these guys are coming from more wealthy families.
Mm-hmm.
Guys that, and Cal's talked about this, something he takes pride in is ending poverty. He feels like he is assisting in ending poverty.
Yeah.
Because he is assisting so much with getting families that for generations have been just unbelievably poor to where they'll be set the rest of their life.
Right.
And it's on the kid to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But Cal is providing them with a stage and getting them ready to excel to their most utmost potential.
Right.
What you're looking at, to me, the current model where players are not being paid.
Yeah.
If you change it to a 2-year deal, I think you're running the risk of players, because it doesn't matter where they go as long as they're out of high school.
Right.
You're running the risk of these same elite players going and making $1 million deals overseas in China and other countries, playing European professional basketball for 2 years and making, you could, for example, who was it? Kevin Knox, I think it was Kevin Knox, turned down $1 million contract to go play in China, to come to play at the University of Kentucky. They're being offered, these elite level recruits
Right.
can be offered high level money. Brandon Jennings did it.
Right.
Emmanuel Mudiay did it. He wasn't going to be eligible anyways, but he did it.
Mm-hmm.
It's happening more often than not at this point. Another option is if they can remain eligible, prep schools. Thon Maker.
Right.
He played at a prep school for a year
Mm-hmm.
after he graduated. He was eligible for the draft. So while 2 years helps the development of the player,
Right.
in my opinion, 2 years will make a better rookie class coming in
Right.
as far as being developed.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get the same exposure, in my opinion, as to what I fear will happen with these players. You don't get the same familiarity as far as a fan base, being
Right.
a fan of college game and NBA game.
Mm-hmm.
You get familiar with these kids, of course, because they're thrown down your throat. There's as much exposure as what there in TV is as what there is now. You see so much of it.
Right.
I feel like if you go to the 2-year game without adjusting compensation for players, you're running a major risk of players fleeing the college game altogether
Mm-hmm.
and going elsewhere.
Yeah, I can see that.
That's my fear.
I can see that.
So it's
Yeah, when I'm looking at it and I say I want the rule changed, or I would like to see it changed, it's based off of a NBA look,
I understand.
right? And it's based off of how many players go to the NBA as one and dones or whatever, and then don't pan out at all, and teams wasted picks or something like that on these guys, and that goes back to if they played 3 more years in college, would they be a better player today and maybe have a career in the NBA? Maybe.
The best way to fix this as a whole, in my opinion, is to approve compensation for players in college. Not you. The changing of rules. It's going to be tough, because in my opinion, you're hurting the NBA game. You're still going to get college players if you take away the one and done
Right.
rule, just go straight to high school. You're still going to have players go to college. You're still going to have players leave after 1 year of college. It's just, it's not the elite level freshman that you see
Right.
in the college game now. It's going to greatly diminish.
Mm-hmm.
What you're hurting in this aspect, I believe you're hurting the development of the player, and I believe you are hurting the exposure of the player for what he could potentially do down the line. And in the long run, I think you're hurting the league by taking away the one and done rule. Not having, for some reason, that they should go through a little bit more development before entering the man's game of the NBA.
Right.
Because the NBA is a man's game.
Yeah. It is that.
But without changing the compensation rules, it's hard. Could you imagine a guy with the talent of a John Wall, or a guy with the talent of Andrew Wiggins, or a guy with the talent of Jabari Parker? Could you imagine those guys being in college for 2 years, knowing what their worth is
Right.
and what they should be making at this point,
Mm-hmm.
but they're required to be in school at this point?
Right.
I think you're really risking players fleeing and going
Right.
elsewhere.
Now, I can easily see that argument that maybe you need to change both. Do it as a collaboration. But
I think
I can see that.
I think they go hand in hand, and I think that's truthfully, I think that's the biggest reason why the rule's not been changed yet. The one and done rule is not a college rule; it's an NBA rule.
Right.
So, college and NBA has to work together with that, in my opinion. I think colleges push to keep the one and done rule. Now, coaches talk; they want the 2-year rule. Cal's talked about the 2-year rule. Cal also wants players to be paid.
Right.
It is what it is at this point.
And but I mean, this was a fun video to me. I like the idea of, because there's a lot of older talent that are not playing because these younger guys are only better because they're younger. These guys are actually better. They just can't do physically what these guys may be able to do.
They might be better in some skills as far as pure shooting, maybe, but
their athleticism has dropped.
They're
other younger
the
players
NBA game now is so much of an up and down game
right.
that youth always wins.
Right.
So,
and that's I would like to see players maybe not get pushed out. And that's kind of what, to me, happens when you start getting a little older. But, I mean, you had some of them. Vince Carter, what is he, 38 now?
40.
Is he 40? Okay, I was going to say you've got Kevin Willis, who played up to like 41. Could play forever, Kevin Willis.
So did Robert Parrish. So did Kareem.
Yeah, back then. And that's what I'm saying. Back then you had more.
You don't see it anymore.
Nope, you don't see it. Because players would also play 3-4 years of college back then on average. And now you don't. Now they don't.
That's true. It's a lot easier to play 3 years of college, and you're essentially playing the same amount of games in 3 years of college, anywhere between 90 to 100 games, roughly, in 3 years of college. It's what you would be playing in one NBA season in a decent playoff run.
Yep.
So, yep.
But anyway, that was a fun video. Hope you guys understand what we're saying.
Look at the time. We're doing better. We're making strides.
And if you guys liked it, hit that like button and the subscribe button. Definitely like us on Facebook, Bluegrass Sports Show, Twitter, Bluegrass Sport 2. Share it with your friends. Share it with your friends, guys. We need help. We need help. We can't reach everybody. So definitely share it if you like it. If you don't like it, obviously, I'm not going to ask you to share it. But have a great day, guys.